Hey guys, what is the best stencil printer to use for tattooing? I've been rattling my brain around for the last year, trying out different kinds between thermal, inkjet, and ribbon, which I'm all going to go over with you in this comparison video. Yes, this is a big comparison video. We want to figure out which one of these printers is the best for tattooing. I can tell you first off that the printers over here to my left and your right are not going to be in this comparison video because they just weren't up to snuff. So we're saying bye-bye to Wormhole and Mast. We're going to go over the Yong ATS886 and the 886 RTP, which works with the ribbon, as well as the Inkfuel printer by Tattoo Skin over here, which works on the inkjet tracing paper. So a lot of different varieties here. Which one do you use? What makes the best print? There's also different kinds of variables involved as well, including the ink and paper, but don't worry, we're going to go over those today as well. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different types of thermal or ribbon paper, so we're going to go over all of that and put them on my arm and see which one lasts the longest. So yes, this is a big comparison video. It's taken a really long time to collect everything we need for this. I hope you guys enjoy it. Please like and subscribe because I want to bring you more things like this in the future. Now let's take a look at these printers. Okay guys, we're going to take a look at my very favorite printer first. It is the ATS886 from Yilong, and honestly, I've been using it the last year and I haven't found anything wrong with it. It's amazing. It is really easy to use. The app is awesome, and I feel like it gets all the details I need really well. We want to see how it works with different kinds of thermal paper. We have the regular Spirit paper, the Spirit green paper, the S8 red paper, and the Yilong paper to try out. All right, we have a good test for you on this paper. We have a portrait and we have a few fine line pieces, kind of ranging from light, medium to a little bit thicker. The portrait was done through the Tattoo Stencil app by Pony Lawson, where you just put in a photo. I love how it converts to a stencil, so that's how I made that one. All right, the Yilong app is really easy to use. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that right now. First, you're going to turn on the ATS886. You're going to download your app. I'm not going to show you that. That's just in the App Store. When you get your machine, it will give you directions on how to do that. All right, here we are in the app for the ATS886, as you can see on the top here. We want to search for the device, and you'll see your device right there. We're going to connect it, and that's the first step every time you open the app. You just want to connect the device if it was off and disconnect it. So now we're connected, and if you want to disconnect, you're just back on this home page and you would disconnect there. Okay, so we're going to go to pictures here, and we have here before you the 4 different types of thermal paper we will be testing. Okay, so let's start with the Spirit, and I've just labeled each one here. And we're just going to grab some Spirit paper. I'll show you how to load the ATS886. Okay, here's the Spirit paper. It is the regular Spirit paper, which has a purpley tinge to it. So you're going to take off the middle part and the yellow part. Then we're going to feed into the printer with the white side up. All right, grabs it really nicely there. Just going to put our picture to the side now. And here's the app again, and we're just going to go ahead and print right here in the top icon. You're going to see lower, middle, and high density. I have messed with the higher density, never really had to go to a lower density that I can remember, maybe once, but mostly I've been right in the middle. So let's take that one. All right, so now it is transferring. It's going to take just a few seconds. Okay, so starting at middle density, let's see how we did. Okay, so we have our print here at the medium density. I'm getting really beautiful results in the face, beautiful results in the darker density fine line. The middle density loses a little bit at the lighter areas, and then again here, maybe it's just missing the tiniest little bit there. So good news, we can go at the higher density, which I have used before. We can also increase the brilliance of our lines if we need to in the photo app. Okay, so again, the density change, is right here from middle to higher density. Okay, so we are printing different kinds of stencils all at once, and the result of this one's a little varied as well. It was beautiful changing the density for this really fine line large scale piece here. You can see on this side where the medium density was printed, it was a little too light, but now this looks absolutely perfect. I would use this 100%. I also like how even though it's high density, the text came out really well. I would be fine with that. And the Salvador Dali image is a little heavy for me personally for a portrait, but that's okay. We have this version here, which was absolutely perfect. And then this version here, the medium for the fine line piece in the middle, looks fantastic. The high density, as you can see, these darker areas got too dark. Same with this guy. Obviously this willow is a little the trickiest of all of those since it has varied density in it. Because it has varied density, I would stay at medium and then just increase the brilliance to get that to print right. Let me just show you. Okay, so in the Photos app, I've pulled up this image and I'm going to go to Brilliance and just kind of focus in on this one for a minute. Okay, see how that increased the line saturation quite a bit. So let's just do that. We're going to punch it. And then we're going to try printing this again. All right, and we're going to print this on the middle density as well. We've increased the brilliance and we've turned it so it's in a better spot on the page. All right, let's try it. All right, let's take a look. All right, cool. So let's compare this one to our higher density. All right, interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm really happy with how it printed the fern. Obviously, it looks perfect. The brilliance could be brought maybe down a smidge if you want, but I could work with this stencil no problem. I could actually work with this stencil, this stencil, this stencil, and this stencil. Actually, everything on this paper I can work with. So I think maybe instead of messing with the density in the actual function of the printer, it might be good just to give your fine lines a little punch. If the printer doesn't seem like it's getting it, you can easily do that in the in the Photos app. Having said that though, if you want to keep it really fine line and get as much detail as you can out of it without increasing that brilliance, because you want to keep that fine line going, you can see this was done at the higher density. So that is the right decision for that scenario. It looks beautiful. I would actually be much happier using this one over this one, just in terms of the resolution. There it is, this one versus this one. And these are, I'm just really splitting hairs here because they're both great, but obviously this one just looks a little bit more in focus because the lines were kept exactly the way that I designed it, and I didn't have to change the brilliance for it. But this one was not so good. And this one is great. So you can see that there's a little bit of tinkering involved with this situation of thermal printers, but I've done some tinkering for you right here, so you can take my word for it that those are the suggestions and you can implement them into your workflow and save a little bit of money on your own paper. All right, so now that we've found our best print with the ATS886, I'm going to make a few more prints on different paper because we're going to do a skin test later and try each of these thermal papers on skin to find out which one holds up the best. Okay, next up is the S8 red paper. So I've also increased the brilliance on this one. It is the red paper and I tend to get lighter prints with it, so I'm going to print at higher density. So this is also brilliance enhanced at higher density. Hopefully it's not too dark, but let's try it out. All right, so here's the S8 red. And this is at the high density. And it's also with the brilliance punched up. And as you can see, it looks really, really good. My fern leaf looks amazing. I think I've been calling this a willow leaf, but it's a fern leaf. It looks amazing. I'm getting all the details in it, and just as good as the spirit paper, I would say. So very, very high detail. You can see here, beautiful resolution on the S8 paper. It's very, very similar to the spirit paper, but with these particular settings and these images, I would say that the S8 actually looks better. So let's just put these to a side because we're going to try out the words later on my arm and see how well the ink holds up. Okay, next up is the Spirit Green paper. I recently discovered the green paper, which I'm really happy with. For certain projects, the regular Spirit paper, it holds up amazing, but it's almost too good for some of my projects if they're smaller or they're not going to take as long, or if I want to see the details and I just can't through the purple. The green is the way to go. And I've been using it a lot lately and I'm really happy with it. So let's see how it holds up. Okay, we have the Spirit Green in here and we're going to print at middle density with the brilliance all the way up. Okay, let's check out Spirit G. So I did use the same settings for the Spirit Green as the regular Spirit, and it seems like the correct settings. So here we go, Spirit Green. Let's take a look just briefly next to these. So, yeah, and I'm not sure why, but it looks like slightly clearer than the regular Spirit paper and consistent with like what's on the paper itself. You can see just a slight improvement there. Probably not as good as the red paper on this round. Let's see. Pretty much just as good, I would say, as the red paper, actually. It looks great. So the Spirit Green is awesome. I do recommend it for you guys if you want to see your lines go in a little bit clearer and just see what you've been doing, and kind of if you've been struggling with that with your purple, it might be time to try the green. And it looks very blue, by the way. Okay, I have some Yilong paper here. It's also a different type of thermal paper. It's rather reflective and shiny, so we're going to try this out. It doesn't have the backing, so I just had to remove one thing from the middle. If you get one piece that has a little extra side on it, I just recommend trimming it so that it fits in the machine better. Super noisy, sorry. Okay, let's try it now. Okay, cool. It's fitting in there. I have my new print here. It says Yilong and Brilliance is enhanced. We're gonna try the middle density. It tends to go a little over with this paper. Okay, open up the Yilong. All right, so the Yilong paper is really, really nice as well. I'm seeing amazing details on here and everything looks complete. I feel like I could follow these stencils really well. Comparing it here to some of our favorites, the Spirit Green and the S8 Red, which both would be a lighter ink that you could see through, are still really, really nice. So this one here, the S8 Red, we said had the highest resolution so far. Compared to that, the Yilong paper looks maybe even higher resolution. There's something like very concise about how it prints. The Yilong paper prints in a slightly darker blue color, and it'll be a little darker than the green, obviously darker than the red, but it's going to get all those lovely details because the resolution is amazing. It looks just as good as this S8 red paper. Just very, very crisp lines. So we'll see how this ink holds up on my client's arm today as well. Okay, so that completes the thermal portion of our review. My favorite thermal printer, the ATS886, is obviously awesome. We've done all those prints and we will look at the results on the arm at the end of this. But we have another printer to look at. It is the 886 RTP. It works a little differently. It works with a ribbon. So if you're looking for this printer, you want to search for the ATS886 RTP. So the RTP is what makes this one a little different. It works with a ribbon, which I have here. The ribbon comes with it. So if you want a replacement, you have to just contact Elong. So we have two ribbons here. I'm just going to get some gloves on just to handle these. So you might be asking yourself at this point, why should I use a ribbon printer? Well, this RTS printer prints at 300 dpi, which is very high resolution. I'm going to put this down right here and show you how to install it. We're just going to press these two square gray buttons on the top of the printer. That's going to pop the top. And when you look in, you'll see the same cartridge. See the arrow there and that arrow there. So that's just going to come out. You see the direction it's going to go in. So we're just going to flip this around and just place it in. All right, so now it's loaded with a brand new ribbon. So one of the nice things about the RTP is that it can print on any type of paper. Yes, any type of paper. So if you're really in a pinch, you could even print on computer paper. But I'm going to show you on two different types. I'm going to show you on tracing paper, which makes more sense to me. Although tracing paper is still a little bit stiff, I would like to also show you another way on the back of a regular piece of thermal paper so that you have that softer paper that goes around bends and things like that on your client's body. So you're going to need kind of a paper that's a little more pliable to get that best result. However, you can print on any kind of paper with the ATS886 RTP. All right, so we're going to turn on the machine and we're going to go back to the app and search for our new device. You can see it has an RTP on it now. So we're going to connect to that. Now that we're connected, we're going to go back and press pictures. We're going to go find our RTP print. So already everything Brilliance is up, and I'm going to go into the middle setting for my print. Let's try it on the tracing paper first. I'm going to load that here. And this printer is really, really fast. It's obviously coming out too light. Okay, this printer's all warmed up and it's still looking a little bit light for me, so I'm going to increase the density and we'll try again. Okay, well, this print's okay. It's a little patchy, so I'm going to try a different method here. This is the thermal paper, and I'm going to print on the white side, but I'm not going to take anything out. All right, keep everything in it, flip it over, and just insert. All right, we're going to print now. It's printing on the white side underneath, and it's really fast. So let's see if this comes out a little better. All right, so this printed out much better this way. Let me just show you guys. So this is on regular tracing paper with the RTP, and here is when you have some backing to it, and you just print on the white side of your paper. Obviously, you'd want to try to center this a little better. You're going to have that extra strip of space here that you're going to pull off. So let's see if that's doable. I did get it off, but I would still try to move your image a little bit down just to prevent any tearing at the top. But now you do have a more flexible paper with a nice high resolution print on it. The settings here were just the middle density settings, so you can see that a little bit of back pressure, like with the extra paper behind it, the stiffness of that can help the print come off a little better when you're using a ribbon printer. So that is better. Let's take a look, just curious. We can compare it to the S8 red paper, and it looks really good. It looks very comparable, however, to Spirit Green. So it has 300 DPI with this ribbon printer, but realistically, I'm not seeing that much higher resolution than my 886, just my normal ATS886. So overall, I think the ribbon is maybe a little more hassle than it's worth. Okay guys, lastly we have the Inkfuel printer from Tattoo Skin. This is the best inkjet printer that I've used to make stencils. It works obviously with Inkfuel, which is the name of it, and it's really just a fancy name for the type of ink that you put into the printer. It's like a gentian violet sort of ink, and you load the bottom right here with at least 20 sheets of regular paper with your tracing paper just at the top. It only works with this tracing paper, so it is a little bit more stiff, and that is one of the drawbacks of using a system like this. So the Inkfuel app is the Canon print app. You're going to get that in the App Store, but here it is right here. It's very straightforward. I'm just going to open up my pictures and I'm going to choose. We have our image selected. You can see it says one image. It doesn't show you a preview right away. You just go to next and boom, there's my preview. This one says Inkfuel on it so that we can tell everything apart. And that's pretty much it. We're just going to press print now. We've got it loaded. It won't print unless you have those 20 pieces of paper, so make sure that is underneath your tracing paper. And I'm going ahead and I press print. So it is a really fast printer as well, which is wonderful. All right, now this is over 400 dpi, so it is the highest resolution printer that I've ever tried, and it really shows. You can see it. So this is the most crisp and perfect print that we've gotten today, and it's the most perfectly saturated. I did smudge this right now underneath, so that's cool. We're gonna fix that. Okay, so when it comes out, you want to be careful to let it dry. It is a little moist on the surface and it will smudge if you don't allow it to have a minute or so to dry. So obviously this is the highest resolution printer that we've used today. All the details are super crisp. Everything is saturated. All the lines are perfect. It looks like the printer that you would make with the computer, which makes sense because it is a large Canon printer that you're converting into a stencil printer. So huge advantage in resolution. However, you have to print on the tracing paper. It's a little stiffer. And this is Inkfuel, so it's something that we're still learning if it is a well-saturated ink to use on your client's skin. How well is it going to take? Things like that. So we're going to get to that in a minute, but I just want to go over really quick the comparison to our other higher resolution image here. So you can see how crisp and fine lined those details are in the top image here. And you can see here they're just a little thicker. So you're going to get smaller details with this printer no matter what. All right, so that wraps up our inkjet printer category. This is definitely my favorite that I have tried. And one of the nice things is if anything goes wrong with the printer heads, you can get those replaced as well. So that's a huge plus. Without further ado, we are going to place all those words on my client's arm, who is my assistant today. Thank you very much, LT, for helping us out. We're going to put each of those words on him and we're going to do a little test. All right, I'm just going to apply some stencil solution. Today I'm using the Hold Fast. That's my favorite. I feel like it works with all the different types of thermal paper that I've tried, so that I would recommend. So the Yilong printer is so saturated, I got a little extra density in an area where I had some light gray on the image. You can increase your contrast to get rid of that. But looks like we got them all on there. Inkfuel, 886, RTP, Spirit, Spirit Green, S8 Red, and the Yilong, their little extra guy there. You can see how dense each one of them. Yilong's the darkest, Spirit's the next one down. Spirit Green is about the same, it's just a different color. I would say the S8 Red's probably about the same saturation too, it's just that it's red, so we're not going to see as much of that color reflected back to our eye. And then after that, I would say the RTP, and then lastly, the Inkfuel is the lightest. So the Inkfuel, I guess, is the most disappointing just in terms of how nicely the resolution is on that machine. There is the drawback of not being quite as dark, but
The question is, will it stay on the skin? So it's not quite as saturated, but is it going to actually stain and stay on the skin? So we're gonna let all of these dry a good, let's say 15 minutes just to make sure. And then we're going to start wiping them away and see what happens. I'm actually kind of excited about this one. It's fun. I'm having fun. All right, guys, we're gonna start with a little bit of Ink Ease for this test. Ink Ease, I feel like, is a great glide. I wouldn't really use anything else at this point. I've been really happy with them. This is the one I use. It's the purple one. But when I'm using it, I just want to make sure that it is not, like, if these are really bad stencils, they're going to wipe off with the glide process. Normally, you don't really want it going anywhere with the glide process. I noticed that it starts to wipe away more with the soap and water process. So I usually don't do my first wipe until after I've done a bunch of lines, a bunch of glide, things like that. So I'm going to start with glide just to see how each of these react. So we're going to start with Inkfuel. And I'm just going to go like that. That's probably all you would need. All right, so all of these were able to take the Ink Ease, so that's really good. I just wiggle them around, make sure nothing's smudging anywhere. Just double checking. Okay, so they're all very much able to take glide, and that's great because that means I can use glide with any single one of these and I should be able to get my lining in, and that's great. However, once we start into those smaller details, we are going to start wiping more. I do usually wipe a lot with the glide, and then I move to the soap and water. I'm going to start this timer, and I'm going to do one pass, wiping the glide off. Okay, everything's still there. So the glide and swipe actually is working well with everything. That's perfect. Now let's move on to our first water and soap wipe. Maybe we'll restart the timer. All right, let's start the timer. We're going to put some water and soap on paper towel. And I'm going to do my first wipe. Okay, so first wipe, we can see that the Inkfuel is lightening up first. Next is this one, then the S8, then the Spirit, and then obviously these darker ones are like holding strong, and they're smudging though too. The Yilong is smudging the most. Spirit is a little smudgy, but nothing I can't handle. Yilong is a little crazy. Okay, we're gonna do another swipe here. Okay, that's our second wipe. Just gonna dry it real quick here. And yeah, so they're still all there. The S8 is actually starting to disappear first though. And we can still see the Inkfuel. Let's try again. Give a good wipe this time. Okay, so S8 is starting to go more. The Inkfuel is actually still there, which is impressive. My Spirit Green is finally starting to take a hit here. Starting to lighten up just a little bit there. All right, let's just get a clean side of this paper towel. All right, we just wanted to check the camera angle. Everything's looking good. Timer's still going. We're going to do another wipe. 2 wipes. Okay, so the S8 red is almost all the way gone. So as much as I love the resolution on that S8 paper, the red does seem to disappear a little too quickly for me personally. That one is pretty much invisible in some of these sections here. Like, it would be really hard to use as a good stencil at this point. The Spirit Green is lightning, but again, remember the Spirit Green is my favorite paper for those smaller sessions, stuff that might not take as long. But the red is definitely going even a little bit too fast for those smaller sessions. So I would still say the Spirit Green is hanging on pretty well, especially if you're not using it for like large scale stuff where you're going to be doing a lot of wiping. So, all right, let's see. We're going to keep going. Another nice big wipe. That red's pretty much gone now. The green is actually still holding on, but it's very light. At this point, I would be a little annoyed. Obviously, this one's not going anywhere. The smudging has improved quite a bit. I will also mention that the Yilong paper, although it is the darkest, it seems to just slightly oversaturate your lines so that they're a little thicker. You can see the font and looks actually thicker and more dense on that one. All right, and I am really happy that the Inkfuel is holding strong because that is a very high resolution printer, and when this first came off, it looked a little light and I was worried that one would disappear, but it's not. It's still there. It's amazing. All right, another big wipe or two there, and our Spirit Green is pretty much going. I'd be super annoyed by this point and over it. The red's completely gone. We see the Inkfuel's finally starting to lighten up. These two are almost similar now in their lightness. So the RTP, remember, is that tape printer. Prints with tape. It's a little finicky, but obviously the ink stays on really, really well. So that's great. The Spirit paper obviously is hanging on the best here. It's actually starting to pass this Yilong if you look at it. All right, let's see if we can get more info here. Okay. Trying not to be picky on where I put my pressure here. Okay, so we see now the Yilong's finally starting to dissipate here, and is definitely not holding as well as the Spirit, and the Inkfuel and the RTP are about the same still, so that is staying pretty consistent. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 wipes. I don't think you're going to need many more. So that is holding strong. Everything you can see and still you be able to follow. The Inkfuel is still there. It's getting a little lighter, but again, that Inkfuel just stays in the skin so well. You can still follow that stencil, which is great. Okay. We want to see some changes. Try not to be picky on one side or the other. Okay. All right, the Inkfuel and the 886 are still about the same. The Spirit's finally taken a hit. The Yilong's taken hits, but I can still see everything. I wonder how many more wipes does it take to get to the center of this Tootsie Pop. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 50. I'm actually just trying to get them off at this point. All right, so again, the Inkfuel and the RTP holding up very, very well under these conditions, but the Spirit paper is the clear winner to me. I feel like it doesn't oversaturate and it stays the longest on the skin. The Yilong is obviously saturating just as well as the Spirit, but maybe a little too much. Our line weight density seems to increase, picks up the grays in the image and all those things. So the Spirit paper to me is still my favorite. We can't even see the green, we can't even see the red. So for larger scale, longer projects, you're definitely not going to want to use that Spirit green or that S8 red. I'm definitely like over 100 wipes by now, I must be. And we're staying strong here. Inkfuel and 886 RTP, I could still use those. I definitely would be done doing my lining by now. So I wouldn't really care that much. But the Spirit paper obviously is amazing. It will stay, you know, to the last moment that you need it. If you're using it for smaller projects though, it might stick too well, and then that's when obviously these red and these green ones do come in handy. So you can see better too. 6, 7. Yeah, that Yilong is really not going anywhere. It's really in there too. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, let's see who's gonna win here between these. Okay, I think the Inkfuel might be a little better than the RTP, but it's like splitting hairs at this point. All right, guys, so that's enough wiping. I think his arm's gonna start getting sore. I don't want to hurt him. He's being very nice to us to let us do this experiment. So 886 RTP versus the Inkfuel. I'm gonna call it a tie. It's way too close to call those, but both of them are still here. And I would say they're a little bit lighter though than the Spirit paper. The Spirit paper is still here, very legible, still has like some high density areas of ink that I can really see well. And then of course Yilong's there, but it was a little too there, and it's still there. So the winner is Spirit paper. I think you guys knew it already. So we did 10 minutes of wiping with just regular soap and water. In that area, I would never really work that hard on one spot. I don't think with that much wiping. I did over 100 wipes, and I wiped really hard. Usually like when I'm wiping on a client, I'll just try to focus on the one area that I'm working. And to be honest, I don't use the soap and water much until after I've gotten all my lines in and my stencil in. So we're gonna take it one step further. We've got some alcohol, and we're gonna see if we can get these off. So even with the alcohol, we have traces of both the Inkfuel and the top one, but that Spirit is still there and it's still clear, and it just passed the Yilong. Absolutely, this is clearer. So Spirit definitely won even at the end with rubbing alcohol all over the arm. We love Spirit paper. It truly is the best. Still there. You're stuck with it. You're just gonna have to keep it. Okay guys, that wraps up this giant comparison video. I was really excited to look at all these printers because I've tried so many of them, and it's really costly to do all this kind of trial and error routine. So I'm hoping that this helps you guys out and it saves you money. I want to save you more money. I have 15% off for you on the ATS886, which was one of my favorites. Also, I loved the Inkjet Inkfuel, which is right here on the top, and I have $50 off for you on the Inkfuel. So you'll find all that in the links in the description below. I'm so happy you guys watched this. I can't wait for you to get your printer and start working, making masterpieces. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I got more for you to come. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.